Sashi pergi yukshing meto Tramri rablingji Yire gyan padi Sange shindu meche ulwaigi Yukunam da shingla Chepaksho Jetsun lama Dampa kenam Keche ki kyala Kense trutrin chi Jita sampe dulce min la la Sakye chuki japa La tu so Yatayami.
So I think most of people probably know what this mandala offering ceremony we just did. But if there is anyone kind of knew what's going on, so it is a kind of traditions at the very beginning of the kind of teachings. It symbolized making offering the universe, and then we offer in the five notes that symbolize the Mount Meru and the four continents, the universe. Then next one, statue that symbolize body, text that symbolize speech, and the stupa that symbolize the mind. So it's kind of making offering of universe, the body, speech, and mind. And traditionally, when after Buddha achieved enlightenment, for 49 days, he didn't give any kind of teachings. And then he was requested by the Brahman and others to give teachings. And then after requested, then he gave teachings. So traditionally, the teaching are given only if there is a request. And so also at the very beginning, so remembering that as well as to follow that tradition. So there's the tradition of making that offerings and then requesting. So just okay. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. Those in person and those online. This text that we are going to be discussing is a very precious, very powerful text to transform our mind if we can practice. If we can apply a little bit of what the teachings teach us, even we cannot apply everything. Even we are able to apply some of those teachings in our life, I think that will make huge difference in our life in terms of dealing with ourselves, dealing with others, dealing with challenges, difficulties, and transforming how we can transform all the challenging, difficult, painful situation into something positive, something in the path, something positive for our own spiritual growth. And so is the teachings on that. And it is composed by a master who lived his life, those teachings. So it's not something, who has a bright mind and who started writing, not necessarily because they practice it, but this is written by someone who practiced his whole life that himself, someone who walked the talk, so it is coming from his heart, from his experience, not just from the brain and the mind. And also, his actual name is Ngulchu Tongmen Sambo. Ngulchu is the area where he was born in Tibet. So Tongmen Sambo is the actual name. And if you see the Tibetan title, then there's always Geshe Tongmen Sambo, means Bodhisattva. Geshe means Bodhisattva, Tongmen Sambo. And it was a title given by all the masters and people around that time because of his incredible bodhicitta mind, compassion bodhicitta mind, even though he never kind of proclaimed he was Bodhisattva. And he didn't sign as a Bodhisattva Tongmen Sambo, but it was title given by the people because of his incredible compassion and bodhicitta mind. So in Tibetan, normally you have this title, Geshe Tongmen Sambo. Okay. So I would like to start, which I like to do with every session, with a short breathing meditations to quiet your mind and to bring your mind in the moment present. So try to make yourself comfortable, relaxed. And feel the weight of your body on cushions. And keep your attention on the breath. Watching mindfully as you breathe in and out. And being aware as you breathe in, being aware you are breathing in. As you breathe out, being aware you are breathing out. Simply just observing mindfully and being aware. Then we can try to generate good intention, motivation for being here. We can think how fortunate and lucky we are to have this precious human life, which is full of potentials. To transform our mind. And to achieve different level of happiness to ultimate happiness. And how fortunate and lucky we are, even more so, to have met the Dharma, which shows, which explains how to transform our mind, how to achieve true lasting happiness for ourselves and others. And how fortunate and lucky we are to have the Dharma, and our spiritual gurus, teachers, especially at the time when someone great teacher like his own Dalai Lama and others have manifested. Even though we have gathered all the conducive conditions to practice the Dharma, but this life does not last forever. It will come to end like anything else. And like everyone. And we just do not know when it's going to come to end. We just do not know how long we have. Therefore, without wasting the time and opportunity, I must start practicing Dharma soon, not only soon, now, as much as I can, as much as I know. I mean, there's nothing greater meaning to then really practice Dharma that will help us now at the time of death and after the death. And in order to practice the Dharma, we need to be inspired, encouraged, and reminded of the importance of the Dharma and the practice of the Dharma. Because a lot of time we get distracted and forget. And that is why we have all come together here to listen and to reflect, to contemplate. Hopefully, we will be inspired, encouraged, at least be reminded in that whatever we have been we learn and be inspired or reminded, we try to apply as much as in our life, not forgetting after we leave the class, the room, but instead trying to apply in our everyday as much as possible. May the act of us coming together to listen, to reflect, contemplate, May all of this become cause and conditions to actualize the Dharma within our mind stream, the wisdom, the Bodhisattva mind. And achieve fully awakened or fully enlightened state, so we can be greatest help and benefit to each and every sentient being. Okay. Let's go on to the I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merit of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigrate the being. Sangye Sherdang Soge Shonam La Chanchu Patu Dani Kapsuchi Nage Jinsogi Besonam Gi Dola Penje Sangye Duba Sangye Sherdang Soge Shonam La Chanchu Patu Dani Kapsuchi Nage Jinsogi Besonam Gi Dola Penje Sangye Duba I think I will just do the refusion Bodhisattva. So even though it's not so easy to practice all of them myself, but I had the opportunity to receive teachings many times and to receive the oral transmissions and teachings many times from some of the great master teachers, such as His Holiness Dalai Lama, who encompasses those teachings. Again, they are not just reading from the text, but teachings through their own experience, having practiced themselves, put into the practice. So at least I have that kind of the lineage, and in Tibetan Buddhism, we believe the lineage is very important. There's a difference between just reading from the book or just watching on the internet and actually having that unbroken lineage, unbroken oral lineage from the author, and many of our texts has been broken, the lineage, but many of them still has this unbroken lineage. The importance of that, even someone like His Holiness Dalai Lama, he received many oral transmissions from even very ordinary monks. Sometimes he see some of the practice teaching texts, only few people have that lineage. And he see the danger of losing that lineage. Because there is a very ordinary monk, probably nobody will ask him to give that teachings. And then if he doesn't pass on someone who doesn't ask, then that lineage will. So when he finds something like that, then he will actually take from that monks so that he have the lineage, then he can share to the bigger group so that lineage can be kept alive. There are stories where he took from one monk who came from Tibet, very ordinary monks, because he heard that he had that particular lineage, which other teachers doesn't seem to have that lineage. And he even, His Holiness wanted to kind of, also heard about another one lineage, and so he sent the monk to the Tibet, go and receive that lineage from whoever has, bring back, and then again give me. So that means even someone like His Holiness pay big importance to that, and there are many Chamgolode Thai. He was kind of Rime, great master of Rime, and it's also said, he had more than 200 teachers. Not necessarily because they have more knowledge than him, but some of them, they had the lineage, and he wanted to take the lineage from them. And in order of that, and so, and same His Holiness, have received different teachings from different teachers. He give them teachings, and he received teaching from them. And some of them, in terms of experience, knowledge, His Holiness more, but then they have the lineage which His Holiness doesn't have, and he wanted to kind of receive the lineage. And so, anyway, so that is, I just wanted to kind of share that. And even in terms of oral lineage, sometimes there's just oral lineage of the root text, and sometimes there is the oral lineage of root text and the commentaries or explanations. And so His Holiness said he had that oral transmissions of the both root text and the commentaries, and he gave commentary on the basis of that. So that is the text. So the 37 verses, not verses, practices of Bodhisattva. So there are 37 verses of different practices, of the Bodhisattvas. And Bodhisattvas are those who have dedicated their life totally to other sentient beings, out of true love, compassion, bodhicitta mind. To be more precise, then Bodhisattvas are those who have the spontaneous, effortless bodhicitta mind, day and night, and the bodhicitta mind that's driven by true great love and compassion. Out of true love and compassion, then you develop a altruistic intention to achieve fully enlightenment in order to be a greatest benefit to other sentient beings. Of course, when we train at the very beginning, we try to practice with the effort, because it doesn't come naturally. We have to think, we have to feel it. If you don't think, if you don't contemplate, you cannot, that feeling doesn't come naturally. But as you train, and then slowly, you get better and better, and require less and less effort, and then you reach a point where you have these realizations, 24 hours, effortless, day and night, spontaneous. And when you have that, then that is when you actually really become true bodhisattvas. And so these are the bodhisattva practices. Those are the bodhisattvas. Homage to the Avalokiteshvara, meaning, same Avalokiteshvara, and this is the homage Avalokiteshvara Cheresik, cherishing Tibetan. And sometimes you say Avalokiteshvara, something Lokiteshvara, but it's referred to same cherishing. So also cherishing or Lokiteshvara or Avalokiteshvara is the Buddha of the compassions, And so at the very beginning, the author paid respect and homage to the deity Avalokiteshvara, because the topic subjects is something related with loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, and the deity that represents that is the Avalokiteshvara. And then next, paying homage to the his gurus, teachers, lineage, as well as direct teachers from whom he received those teaching instructions. And by seeing his teachers and Avalokiteshvara inseparable as a one. So that's why I pay constant homage to my three doors. So three doors are body, speech, and mind. To my supreme teachers, or could be supreme teachers, many, from whom he received these teachings, instructions directly, all those teachers, as well as the lineage gurus from which this instruction and teaching were passed, from the Buddha Shakyamuni, and and the protector, the cherished, the Avalokiteshvara, cherished, the Buddha of compassion. Who? So this teacher and Avalokiteshvara, inseparable one, who, while seeing all phenomena ultimately like coming and going. On ultimate level, there's no coming, going. On ultimate level, there's no suffering, there's no happiness, and there's no samsara, there's no nirvana. While on ultimate level, they see all of that, but on conventional level, because there's sufferings, there's happiness, there's samsara, there's nirvana, because there's on conventional, there's that. Therefore, make single-minded effort to the good of living beings. And then, even though they see ultimately all phenomena are, like on ultimately or on emptiness, even though there is no suffering, happiness, samsara, nirvana. But since on conventional there is that, and therefore, generating a, compassion, bodhicitta, to the all sentient beings who are suffering sentient beings, and then out of that compassion, working for sentient beings day and night, and so who, out of that compassion, bodhicitta mind, who work for the well-being of sentient beings day and night, I pay homage to that. So that is the paying the homage. Next, when we explain promising what he's going to write or explain. Perfect Buddha's source of all beings and happiness. All the source of temporary well-being and ultimate happiness, So all the temporary well-being and ultimate happiness of all sentient beings come through their own practice, their own karma. And those karma and come through their practice, and those practice come through understanding and practicing the Dharma. And those Dharma, how we practice the Dharma, is taught by the Buddha, so it comes through the Buddhas, And so therefore the Buddhas, ultimately source of all our temporary and ultimate happiness, all sentient beings, arise from accomplish the excellent teaching. Buddha himself, who is the source of all this happiness, also arise from, accomplishing the excellent teachings. How did Buddha become Buddha? Even though Buddha was ordinary like us in the samsara, full of suffering, under the control of delusion karma, but eventually he met the Dharma and he practiced the Dharma, applied those Dharma, those teachings, he applied those teachings, and then he actualized, true love, compassion, bodhidharma, wisdom realizing emptiness. Through that, he entered the path and engaged in the both of practice as 6 perfections and gradually progress through the path and bhumis and achieve enlightenment. So Buddha himself become Buddha by relying on the teachings, Dharma. So that is why Dharma. And in order to practice such Dharma and excellent teachings and the Dharma, and this depends on knowing the Dharma. So in order to practice correctly, you need to know how to practice correctly. You need to know practice correctly. If you don't know how to practice correctly, you might put a lot of effort, but it might not lead much if the practice is not done correctly. And how can we do correctly, unmistakably, is through studying, learning. Therefore, this is important. It's so important. We need to practice. To practice, we need to know correctly, and to know correctly, you need to study. And therefore, here the author Thomas Sambo is saying, so I will explain the practice of Bodhisattvas. Those 37 verses, 37 different practices that he's going to explain here. So, yeah, I'm not going to go in such word by word. So, okay. The first, having gained this rare share of freedom of fortune, So he referred this body, this life, as a ship boat that we use to cross the rivers or the oceans. Similarly, he used this as an example. We have gained this ship is not easy to gain, or achieve, rare, in terms of this human life. This precious human life is very rare. It's rare to achieve, in terms of example, in terms of nature, in terms of cause, it's very rare. Or freedom of fortunes. So the 8 freedom and 10 fortunes. So 8 freedoms are freedom from the obstacle to practice the Dharma. Okay. 8 different states that you have freedom to practice the Dharma, free from the obstacles. And fortune are the 10 fortunes are that we have gathered all the conducive conditions to practice. Not only you are free from the obstacles, to practice the Dharma, but you have accomplish or gather all the conducive condition and practice the Dharma. So normally we know the precious human life with 18 qualities. Okay, precious human life with 18 qualities. The 18 qualities are the 8 freedom and 10 fortune or endowments. And not every human being has those qualities. So therefore, some human beings have much more obstacle to practice the Dharma, and they have much more less conducive condition to practice the Dharma. And therefore, here so we have this precious human life with these 18 qualities. And therefore is not only has so much qualities, it has so much potentials if we use it correctly. If we use this human life correctly, right way, it has so much potentials for ourselves, for others. With this human life, we can achieve not only temporary happiness, but ultimate happiness. Not only for ourselves, but have all the tools, skills to be greatest help and benefit to all sentient beings. So it is with so much potential there, And since there is so much potential, so we shouldn't waste it. We shouldn't waste it and make most of it and make your life more meaningful. So that here the author is advising us, you have this very precious, incredible, precious life with so much potential. So don't waste it in a meaningless or less meaning, but instead make it meaningful. How can we make it meaningful? Then here, think and meditate unwaveringly day and night. So then the way to make our life meaningful is to study, the Mahayana teachings, practice, Bodhisattva's practices. Hearing means studying, and whatever you study, trying to think or reflect on that. So first, you learn from the words, from, hearing or reading, studying. Once you have what you have heard, what you have studied, you try to think, reflect again and again. Through that reflections, you come to convictions, And once you have conviction, then you contemplate and meditate again and again, So then it becomes part of yourself, that feeling of that particular realizations, come naturally and become part of yourself, day and night. And the reason to study, reflect, and meditate on the Mahayana teachings and practice is in order to free yourself and others, not only for yourself, but in order to free yourself and all sentient beings. Free from what? From the ocean of cyclic existence, to free from the ocean of cyclic existence or the samsara, and the cause of the samsara, the karma and the delusions. And this is the practice of Bodhisattvas. So that is the first practice. mentioned here. Second practice is kind of advising to give up homeland if possible, if not create similar or whatever conditions that is suitable, it's kind of ideal, but it's not possible for everyone, But if we are not possible exactly as it is, at least how can we create better environment, more to practice our Dharma? That is the main thing. So here, when we live in a homeland household, surrounded by friends, families, in the midst of a lot of people, then, delusion arises very easily. Delusion arises very easily because of the circumstances, conditions, So therefore, attachment to your loved ones, you are stirred up like water, like continuous river running all the time, continuous river. Similarly, attachments arises all the time because we are surrounded by, sometimes we're attached to our partner, sometimes we're attached to our parents, sometimes we're attached to our children, sometimes we're attached to our friends, families, and all this. Because when you are surrounded by them, when you see them, it just gives you a rise of that attachment, You cannot stop not thinking about, So attachment just arises continuously, so easily. Not because you want to, not because you put effort to arise from attachment, even though we put effort not to have any attachment, but because we don't have a strong practice and tool to be able to reduce or destroy the attachment. So the conditions when the objects are close and near, you just can't stop. It's like someone who has addictions, and the substance they are attached to or addicted to is there. They cannot just stop. Even they don't want to get in that, but when they see whether it's alcohol, whether it's the drug, whether it's the food, whatever that is. And so, again, they keep relapsing again and again, Similarly, when the objects of attachment are so close and when you encounter all the time, in them directly or through message or for phone and whatever, you are constantly reminded and constantly each time, attachments arises all the time. So hating your enemies, you burn like a fire. And because when we live in such a environment, societies, then we know we're always going to have different people have different opinion and views, and we're going to have conflict all the time, Even when it's two persons, it's hard to agree on anything, When you are 10 people, then maybe it feels like we 4 of us agree, or 6 of them doesn't agree or whatever. But then among 4 of us we discuss, then 2 of us agree. When you go to the details, as they say, the devil is in the details, you know. And so when you go in like that, then there's always kind of different view, different ideas, and those become sort of conflict, you know, and that conflict lead to anger and hatred, you know, and then it's so easy to cultivate anger, so easy to anger, so easy to, you know, you listen to the news, you get upset and angry. You watch the TV, you get angry, upset. You go somewhere and you see some people behaving certain way, acting certain way, doing something, you get upset and angry. You drive and you get upset and angry because someone is not following the rule or whatever that is, you know. So again, such angers arises so easily and so quickly like that, you know. So hating your enemies, you burn like fire. In the darkness or confusion, you forget what to adapt and discard. And then, you know, the darkness of ignorance or confusions, you know, then, you know, we get distracted and forget what is to be practiced, what is beneficial, you know, and what is thing that we need to discard, that is something we need to eliminate, you know. And so basically it increase, you know, the afflictive emotions, the delusions, you know, such as attachments, anger, ignorance. And the source of that is in such environment. Give up your homeland. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas, you know. Because for a beginner practitioners, external condition, environment effect very strong. When you are advanced practitioner, when you have reached certain level, when you have the tools, then maybe the external condition, environment might not influence you so much because you have the tool to deal with that. You have the ability to deal with that. But when we don't have that at the very beginning, it's hard. Yeah, you know. So, you know, even though we cannot give our homeland, at least even within our own environment, you know, how can we make it less environment where we are influenced less for increasing those delusions? For example, you know, maybe watching less news might be one of the things, you know, if that is what making you upset and angry very often, you know, for example, you know, also with our families, sometimes we overly kind of interact all the times. You know, sometimes feel like you have to call every day. Do you get it? You have to call every day. Yeah, you know, sometimes it's not necessary, you know. Yes. Yeah. And so then, you know, when you talk every day, then, you know, what is going on, then, oh, I'm having this problem, that problem. Normally, that is what happens. oh, someone said this and this, or in our workplace this happened, then you disturb your mind. A lot of time there is not much you can do. Just listen. Maybe sometime, maybe you might be able to help a little bit, but most time. But it's still your mind. It's still your mind, you know. And so again, those can be another, where you don't have to. If it's, of course, when someone need help and they are in that, then of course, that. But normally, we don't have to do that so often, because sometimes I see people, they feel like they need to call every day. And then their mind get disturbed. So basically, trying to identify what make my mind more disturbed. What condition, what kind of things in my everyday life, what makes my mind more disturbed, upset, angry, or increase attachments, or all of that, and then trying to keep little distance from those objects. At the very beginning, that is how we can do. And like, for example, I personally doesn't like to go to shopping malls and like that so much, because you go to shopping malls and sometimes you see nice thing and attachment arises, whether you buy it or not. Sometimes you say, I don't need it, but you feel, oh, that is nice thing, like that. For example, it just increase your attachment. So just kind of identifying, and just trying to keep live distant from those objects, that kind of, so at least that's what we can do, even though we cannot leave homeland like Buddha did, Milarepa did, and all other master did, not everyone. So we try to adjust to our condition and just make more. By avoiding bad objects, disturbing emotion gradually increase. So when we avoid and when we keep distant from such objects, then disturbing emotions gradually decrease, because you don't encounter the objects. If the objects are not there, then the emotion does not arise. And your mind is not disturbed by anger or strong attachments, and other afflictive emotions. Then your mind is less distracted. A lot of time our mind is distracted by those negative emotions. Even you try to practice, you cannot stop from thinking about something that disturbs your mind. Or you will attach to something, you cannot stop not think about it. Or if you're attached to something, you cannot stop worry and fear. So, all these different emotions arises, and even when you try to practice and meditate, your mind get very distracted easily. So when those disturbing emotions gradually decreases, then you have less distractions. External distraction, internal distractions. You become less busyness externally, and your mind has less afflictive emotions, so your mind is less distracted. So you have both external and internal less distraction. Without such distraction, virtues activated naturally increases, Then even you try to practice meditate, it becomes more easy, better meditations, less distractions, and even you try to study Dharma, you can concentrate better, less distraction. Studying the Dharma, reflecting, contemplating, practice meditation, all of them become more virtuous or more powerful, more focused without less distractions. And when it's less distraction like that, and you concentrate better, then, you have better clarity of mind. With a clarity of mind, conviction in the teaching arises, and so your mind, there's more clarity, better concentration, better practice, better result. And with better result, you have more faith and conviction in the teaching and the practice. At the moment, we don't have a strong convictions in the teachings and practice because we don't have so much experience. And we don't have so much experience. Whatever small practice meditation we try to do is a lot of time distracted, unable to do well. And so therefore, cultivate seclusions, And again, that is one of and this is the practice of Bodhisattvas, So again, even we cannot give up the homeland and find a seclusion in the hermitage in the mountains, but at least, within our own environment, how can we make it more suitable for our practice with less distractions? How can we make our life and mind less busy? How can we create more peaceful, more quiet environment externally, physically? And so that's what we try to do. And so the next one is, meditating on impermanent in general and especially dead impermanent, and then letting go of attachment to this life, because attachment to this life pollute and dilute our practice from becoming powerful and pure. Even we try to practice our Dharma, practice whatever practice we do, it doesn't become as pure as it can be, not as powerful and effective as it can be, because the practice has been contaminated and polluted by some attachments to this life, such as, the attachment to worldly concerns, So therefore here, meditating on impermanent, loved ones who have long kept companionable path, So our loved one, near one, dear ones, with whom we have grown up together, who have taken care of us, who has been together with us, will be gone one day, Either we live before them or they live before us. But one day it will be separated. And we all have experienced, many of our family members, friends, are no more in the world. You know? And there are some still left, and that will also live one day. Sometimes we live before them, or they will live us. We don't know that part, but you know, it will come to, we will part, we will separate. Wealth created with difficulty will be left behind, and all the wealth that we create with so much hardship, you know, with so much sweat, you know, and sometimes, you know, create all this wealth, we fight with others, you know, we create a lot of negative karma in the process of creating them, you know, and so forth. And all this wealth that we have created with all this hard sweat, and maybe even some negative karma, you know, all of that. Either they live before we die, you know, sometimes things go like that. Things, situation change, everything's, you know, from being very rich to know someone on the street, you know. Or when we die, we leave everything behind, not being able to take one penny. Even you want to take it, you cannot take it. You have no power, no ability to take it. So therefore, in the teachings, some teaching they say, no. When we die, the king and the beggar die same way, empty-handed. They both go empty-handed. You know? Consciousness, you know, to whom we have always been together from the birth, from the very conceptions. Consciousness and this body has been together all the time, never parted, never separated, even for a moment. 24 hours, always together. You know, even that would be parted, even that would be separated, you know. The guest will leave the guest house of the body. The consciousness guest will leave this guest house of the body, you know. So therefore, you know, when all things are going to be separated at some time, you know, that's the fact, that's the reality, you know, that's the nature, you know. So why hold and grasp on so tightly? You know, so learn not to grasp on so tightly. Learn not to hold so tightly and not be so attached to them. If we are less attached, less pain. Less attachments, less pain. When it, even when we get parted and separated, there's less pain. More attachment, more pain, more sufferings. Not to talk about, you know, out of that attachment creating negative karma and the result of such negative karma in the future. But even this lifetime, the more attachment we have, the more worry we have, the more fear we have. If we are attached to something that we don't have, we have fear and worry of not being able to achieve it, not being able to get it. You know, will I be able to get it? Will I be able to achieve it? Will I be able to accomplish it? And there's a lot of fear and worry about that. And even for those which we have already accomplished, there's a fear and worry of losing them. You know, so with such fear and worry, you know, we suffer so much. We suffer so much because of such fear and worry. And not only fear and worry, sometimes because that fear and worry, then again, we feel negative towards others. When we feel they can be obstacles, they can create obstacles to us from us achieving or accomplishing or getting what we're attached to, Whether from the other side, whether they are really creating obstacle or not, that will be another thing. But in our mind, we might feel they are challenged to that. They are obstacle for that. The moment you feel they are challenged for that, they are obstacle for me to achieve that I really want, I'm so attached to, then we started to feel bad, negative towards them. So again, all these delusions, all these arises, and due to those delusion arises and the suffering, the pain we go through. If we really look deeply, attachment is a big role in that. Attachment is a big role. Attachment plays a big role in that. So through meditation on impermanent in general, especially death impermanent, then we try to learn to let go of the attachment. If you let go of attachment, immediately there's more peace. Immediately there's more peace. Less worry, less fear. And not to talk about, due to non-attachment, then increasing the other virtues, practices. And whatever practice meditation you do, it becomes more pure, more powerful, more effective, less distractions. Because a lot of distraction, as I mentioned, is due to, worldly concerns and so forth. So, and next is here, advising to give up, bad friends. And what are the bad friends? How do we know who is bad friends? So here, when you keep your companion, your three poison increase. So when you are in company of someone, when you befriend someone, and when you are physically close to them, where your three poisons, attachments, anger, and ignorance increases. Those are the three poisons. If it increases that, and then your activities of studying the Dharma, hearing or reflecting or thinking and meditating decline, when you are around them, they influence you in such a way or make them you distracted, so your Dharma study, reflections and meditating decline slowly, and your delusion increase slowly, And those, and when they make you lose your love and compassion, and then they influence you to lose the very root of the Bodhisattva's practice, the very root of the Bodhisattva, the very root of the Bodhisattva practice, that's loving kindness, compassion. And then they influence such that your love and compassion, even whatever love and compassion we have little bit, it becomes less and less, small. If that becomes, then that influence is something negative, and that is what I call the bad friends. And so, and giving up such bad friends is the practice of Bodhisattva. So of course, this is Bodhisattva practice, so we don't give up from our heart. You hold every sentient being in your heart as an object of love, compassion, bodhicitta. You hold all them as your most kind mother, all of that. But physically, you try to keep a little distance. Again, if you are strong-minded and if you have a strong practice, again, they wouldn't be able to influence you. But when you don't have those strong practice, then they can influence you, you know. And we have to be more honest and careful. Sometimes we might say, oh, I might be able to influence them in a positive way, you know. And do you really have that ability, and are you strong not to get the influence of that? You know, it's like someone who has a problem with drinking problem, let's say, and you think maybe I can help them being around them. Instead of being able to help them, then they make influence you to drink and have problem. You know, yeah, and I have met some you know, Dharma practitioners, you know, who give up robes and like that, and because at the very beginning they feel compassion for someone and they want to support and help, you know, and they thought they will be able to help support, you know, but then it didn't, you know, it kind of influenced them in such a way that they have to give up the robe, you know. And so this is just one example of that, you know, which they thought that wasn't the best decision they did at that time, you know. But so that, just to give example, you know, so that is how. So it doesn't mean keeping distance mentally. Mentally, still you keep. Sometimes they need more love and compassion, you know. But physically, keep a little distance. That is what it means. Okay. And then relying, you know, more on the virtues and good friends, you know. And what is good friends? You know, virtuous friends. So then, number 6, when you rely on them, virtuous friend or good friends are those when you rely on them, when you are close to them, when you are physically close to them, near to them, your faults come to an end. You know, your faults become less and less. You know, normally you get easily angry and disturbed and upset, but when you are there, they have this calming mind or calming energy that make your mind more calm, peaceful, and less agitated. You know, being around some people, it make your mind more agitated being around them. And then you have some, because of their internal practice and energies, it make your mind calm, peaceful, less agitated and so forth, you know, inspire your practice, you know. And good qualities grow like waxing moons, you know. So, and your good qualities in terms of the practice of, you know, moral discipline, ethical discipline, you know, in terms of your practice on loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, and the practice of 6 perfections, so forth, grow like waxing moon, you know, increasing, you know, gradually increasing, you know. And so when someone like that, then, you know, you cherish them, cherish the spiritual teachers, you know, such as the qualified spiritual teachers, or even if it's not your actual spiritual teachers, but someone, when you are around them, when you rely on them, when you befriend them, that help you to increase your practice, your virtues, you know, your positive qualities, and which help you to decrease your negative qualities, faults, you know, such as the virtuous friends, such as the good friend, such as the Dhamma friend, that you can rely on, someone you can befriend, that you can be close, you know, cherish spiritually even more than your own body, you know. And this is the practice of the Bodhisattvas. And then, yeah, 7. So the main practice of this mind training is training in loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, because that is the main practice of the bodhisattvas. And then transforming the challenges and difficult and painful experience into something virtuous, something in the path. And then engage in the bodhisattva practice, such as six perfection and so forth. At the very beginning, the practice are as a preliminary practice for that, the actual practice of cultivating true love, bodhicitta, compassion, bodhicitta. So these are part of the kind of preliminary practices. In terms of, you can see the actual cultivation and improving loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta is the core hard practice of this. And then these earlier verses are the kind of preliminary foundational practice that lead to that support and help to have those practice. And once you have that loving kindness and compassion, then what kind of contact or practice you engage into, and there's others such as six perfection and transforming the problem into that. So we are still part of where the foundational foundations preliminary practices. And next is taking refuge to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Bound himself in the jail of cyclic existence, what worldly God can give you protections, So no matter what the worldly God, how powerful they might be, how powerful they might be, no matter how much they can give you external, things, whether it's a power, whether it's an immediate, some kind of relief, whether it's a wealth, whatever, immediate protection, whatever, no matter how much powerful they might be in such way, but they themselves are in some sort of cyclic existence. They are not free from cyclic existence. They themselves are. And therefore, they are not the object of true refuge. The refuge, the reason for us to go for refuge is to free oneself and all sentient beings from the suffering. And it's not only temporary suffering, but all the suffering, the cyclic existence itself and cause of cyclic existence. And so therefore, if you are taking refuge, you are going refuge for that purpose, then you need someone who is free from the samsara themselves. If someone is samsara, when they themselves are confused and lost in samsara, how can they help us to get out of that samsara? So you need someone who is not confused and lost in samsara themselves. And therefore, when you seek refuge, take refuge in the three jewels, which will not betray you. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. And then, the true object of the refuge is the three jewels, Buddha Dhamma Sangha. And, you take from depth of your heart, trusting, having confidence in Buddha as the supreme teachers to showing us the path, seeing the Dharma as the supreme cessations, the actual project refuge, and the Dharma, the actual Dharma is the wisdom realizing the emptiness, and then Sangha is those, who have actualized the Dharma within themselves, or the community who follow the Dharma, and so. So yeah, going to the refuge, to the Buddha, as like the doctors, going refuge to the Dharma as the actual project, the cure, the medicine, and going refuge to the Sangha as the assistant that can help us. And next is meditating on the suffering of lower rebirth, and then the cause of lower rebirth, and the samsara of lower rebirth and cause of lower rebirth, and trying to avoid creating the negative karma that can lead us to lower rebirth and some sort of lower rebirth. Subduer here meaning Buddha. The Buddha said all the unbearable sufferings of the back rebirth, such as three lower rebirth, is the fruit of wrongdoing. It's due to our own negative karma. Our own actions. So again, it's not created by some other forces from outside, but is due to our own actions, our own negative actions. And therefore, even in the course of your life, never do wrong. This is the practice. And giving out, creating negative karma, trying to, whatever negative karma that we have created in the past, we try to purify. It's not like there's no solution to that. Even no matter how much bad negative karma we might have created in the past, knowingly or unknowingly, we try to do the purification and try to purify. But the most important is to not to create more new negative karma, more new negative karma. If we continue to create new negative karma, then you purify, and then again you do tomorrow, and again, there's never kind of end, and so past one we try to purify, and then in the future we try not to create a new one by understanding, how all our problem and suffering is actually creation of our own karma, ripening our own karma and other conditions. With that understanding, then even in difficult time, not creating negative karma. I think it's easy to avoid negative karma in the easy time, good times. It's much more harder to avoid it when things are challenging and difficult. So again, we have to be even more mindful when we are in difficult times. And then cultivating the renunciations and generating aspiration to achieve the liberations by meditating on, again, impermanent nature of all the contaminated pleasure and happiness. Like a dew on the tip of grass, pleasure of three worlds. So, all the samsaric pleasure or contaminated pleasure, So samsaric or contaminated pleasure are, result of still contaminated karma, of three worlds, of human, God, nagas, last only a while and then vanish. It's like there's the dew on the tip of grass, In the morning before the sun arises, you see there is a quite solid ice. And once the sun comes, it's gone very fast. It doesn't last long. Similarly, all the pleasure, the contaminated pleasure that we experience, they do not last. They do not last. They all are momentary. They all are momentary. Ever changing, never lasting. You experience the pleasure for a moment and it's gone so quickly. All different kind of pleasure that we experience in samsara, all these contaminated pleasures, Whereas, the happiness of liberation, is, everlasting. True. Therefore, aspire to never changing supreme state of liberation. Once we achieve the happiness of liberation or nirvana, that happiness is not so, is never changing or everlasting. It doesn't vanish like a contaminated pleasure and happiness. Therefore, instead of chasing and running after never lasting, no true happiness, instead aspire and put your effort to achieve true lasting happiness. So that is the advice here given. And this is the practice of Bodhisattva. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. By realizing, when you compare those two happiness, one do not last, ever changing, and one with, everlasting, true happiness, true inner joy, peace, happiness. Then, at the moment we are running after those not true happiness and temporary and ever changing. We are most time we are trying to achieve that and trying to run against things that will give us those kind of pleasure. Our life spends so much after that. Always, we give so much energy and time, resource to accumulate those objects that will give us such feelings, such pleasures. But again, because they are so temporary, that can never give you true satisfactions, And because of that, we get distracted and we don't find the time. We are unable to find time, energy towards true practice that can lead us to true lasting happiness. And so here, the order, understand that, reflect, contemplate on that, and then instead of getting distracted and giving so much their focus more on trying to generate inspiration and try to find more time and focus to achieve, everlasting true happiness of the liberations. So I think we will stop here at the moment, and I can take a couple of questions if there's questions today.
Also, if you're online, you may just raise your hand and ask Geshe, or maybe in the center.
If there is. If not, you are ready to go to sleep. I'm also okay. Okay, I see there one. Yes, Andrea.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't find how to raise a hand. Thank you very much for the teachings. And a question is in the last verse, when we read it, the pleasures of the three worlds. What are the three worlds?
Three world, this world, starting Sala, more time is the upper world, our human world, and down world, and sometimes the upper world is the God world, the world of the God, human world, and then down is the Naga, such as Naga. So that is, and yeah, and sometimes also you can see like desire and form and formless God realm. Desire realms one, form realm, form God realm, and formless God realm. Sometimes they can, yeah, because this at a higher rebirth, and there is more samsaric happiness compared to the others. Yeah. Yes, please. Okay, I see. here too. Yeah.
I was wondering, I always feel that there is somehow a tension between focusing, being mindful of death and focusing in renunciation. And on the other side, we live in a society that asks us to make plans for our life, to take care of our family, to think of the future in this life. And then it's difficult. I always feel like there is a contradiction. You know, and I wonder what would be advice of Geshe on how to be mindful of death on one side without forgetting everything that is important also in this life already.
No, I think we do have to plan, because we do live in that, but not getting so attached to that, you know, like it feel, you plan it but without holding, grasping, thinking so tightly, you know, and so I think that is the key, you know. You plan, and if it goes well, it's fine. If it doesn't go well, you can just let it go and not be so upset and angry or worry so much about it. You just plan, you just try to do it, you know, but without being so obsessed and attached, you know, where you become very tense, you know, too much fear, too much worry, you know, and all of that, you know. And then if you don't have attachment, you know, you do it, but you don't have that tense feeling, you don't have so much strong clinging, grasping. If things goes well, it's great. If it doesn't go well, you can just move on without being so very fearful, or if things doesn't go, being so depressed or so low and all of that, you know. And so there is a huge, and also I think when you're not so attached while you plan and you try to do it, but also you will be able to find more inspiration to the practice itself. You know, one will always find more inspirations and more time and more energy towards that. You know, even though we cannot give up, just like Milarepa, you know. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
I didn't get the 18 qualities. What was 8 and what was 10?
10 here is different translations. You know, here it says fortune, freedom and fortune. That is what translated here. Sometimes it is translated 10 endowments, 10 richness, 10, in this case translation, it would be 10 fortunes, and 5 related to one side and 5 from the outside. And yeah, you want to, then you can find more in Lamrims, all of that. Yeah, you can read in, you know, the Lamrims, you know, yeah, those 8 in each of them. But yeah, the 10 are the, some translation, richness, 10 endowment, 10 richness, 10 fortune. Here, freedom and fortune here refer to that, the 10 qualities, the conducive conditions. Yes, please.
I just realized after what you said in your question, so that since few months I feel like protected, more protected than before, from saying things wrong and react like this. And I think it's the way I'm able now to take refuge if I need to relate to these enormous truths and to, well, let's see, stronger. And I think it's about these two that change. Maybe other things also to be able in the training with many people without, you know, get to stress because there's so many people and sometimes they work.
Yeah, I think definitely if we have less attachments, you know, you have less fear and worry and about all of that while you plan, but you have less of that, and so I think it gives you more confidence in your practice. Yeah. Yeah, I think if you have more confidence, you know, then definitely you feel more protected, as well. Yes, please.
Hi, one question is, how can I become a better friend? How can I become a better friend for myself?
Cultivating love, compassion, cultivating love, compassion in yourself, to become better friend with yourself, and then same for others. How can we become better friend for others or oneself? Is cultivating more true love and compassion, which is different from attachments or grasping. True love, compassion come from understanding that whether it's others or whether it's oneself, that we want to be happy and do not want suffering, and that we have right to be happy and not to suffer, and how to take care of that, and just as also others want to be happy and do not want suffering, and also they have right to be happy and not to suffer, and how can we help them to achieve that, and in whatever way we can, how can we contribute, how can we help, and that apply same to ourselves. It's not only others, every being, every sentient beings, including we are one of sentient beings. So we also just need to take care of ourselves. And taking care of ourselves doesn't mean selfish. When we overly do it, then it can become a selfish. And but if we just take care of, just as you will take care of another being with that, just in the same way, then so I think that is the way to become a best friend. And when you love yourself and have compassion on yourself, you will find a way to take care of yourself. Same with others. When we have true love and compassion on someone, and when there is a need, and when you can be any help, if there's any help that one can be, then we will find a way to do that, And so, I think that is how, that is the foundation or the basis to become a best friend for oneself and to others. The cause, the foundations, is that true love and compassion. Okay. So we will do the dedications. If there's more question, I will take next time. Okay. Yewadi nyoto da lama sanke do ne do chi ya ma le pa de sa que pa Chanjo sencho rinpoche, ma ke pana ke gyoshe, ke wanya pa me pai, kong me kondo ke wa sho. Andi rawe kore shingande, endan dewa malu chungwe Shere sewa tenze gyatsoe, shabe sete pato tengyo shi. You want to go to the English? Can we do the English? If we go a little bit higher? Yeah, thank you. Fearless teachers and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Savagas and Pradika Buddhas, victorious Losang father and son, along the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite land, Please bestow the virtues or goodness for accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding the and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You owe the amor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly to the state of victorious one teaching, the sole gateway through which all the benefit and happiness emerge for the all mother living beings, you suddenly departed the peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the spiritual and the great waves of Bodhisattva of the children of victorious one may the smile of reincarnation swiftly beam in glory fortune desire. Okay. Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe. Thank you, everybody, for joining
Yes.
online and in the center.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao.
Thank you, Geshe. Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you. Ciao. Ciao.